wasn't it last year you lost your mailbox?
Yeah, but they put one up, but then it was,
Okay, yeah, I'll move over.
they put the same one up and it was kind of a,
Classic
one,
Sam's
so
change.
Rocky took it down.
Yeah, it's true.
And we brought it in, the old one in
It's
here,
just
so they
weird.
can have it on hand. In case, that's why I left it
So
outside. In case they,
Yeah, I see what
they
you're
knock
saying,
a few
Tommy.
down now and then.
We did
Not,
want to pass that
not a
to
bomb,
you.
as you were saying.
It wasn't a bomb, it was a
Yes,
mailbox.
we did, I'm
It was a
sorry.
mailbox bomb.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
Yeah, I noticed that.
we've had conversations with, yeah.
All right.
Okay.
Poor Chastity.
All right, 6 p.m. I'm here, Tom's here, Meg is absent, Barb's here, Chuck's here, Dick's here, and Jim's not here. Anything for public comment this evening? Oops, I wasn't looking up, I didn't wanna do that.
No,
I didn't want you to be
Here,
like,
Rattling.
Debbie wasn't shaking anything out of
Okay,
her hair.
just wanna
She
make
was saying
sure.
no.
so, all right. I don't have much for the supervisors to report, other than to share, the county treasurer had invited a number of folks to go to a presentation during the finance board's meeting of the county ledge last night on a concept of a land bank use, creation, formation, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And I did not get a copy of the slides. In fact, it was very difficult to even see the slides. Once I get a copy of that, I will make sure to get them to the council members. Debbie, I'll make sure to get them to you. I'm really interested, I mean this very sincerely. I don't know if you folks are meeting as a tax group on a regular basis or not, but I would be interested in what your group thinks of land banks. Because the county treasurer is introduced this concept to the local municipalities to potentially create a land bank, okay? And the way that it would be formed, and please correct me if I'm wrong, Tom or Chuck, you had also heard some of the presentation that the county legislators can create this whether or not the towns and villages in the city want it, okay? The funding for it potentially, the way that it's being proposed, as a portion of the sales tax would go towards funding it. They would also take a portion of some of the county funding from their annual auction and then going after some things.
I think they said 0.25% for the first 2 years, and 3 through 5 it was supposed to be
Yeah,
0.5 or
yeah. So it's just
Half a
it's an interesting concept. Around New York State, there seems to be a lot of success, but there hasn't really been anybody that's no county in the North Country really has created one.
Mhm.
So just curious as to what people think.
I wasn't clear on, did you say that only 10 areas would be able to get?
Correct. So the way that it's currently designed in New York State is there's only so many land banks that could be created at any given time. They're gonna onboard 10 additional land banks in New York State, and if they want, the county or tri-county or, a configuration thereof,
Could be a city, or could be,
right, could create a new opportunity.
I don't know if a town can do it by themselves,
You have to have,
certain population.
no. You have to have certain foreclosure rates to be able to do it. So, but the county legislators would be the ones to charter it. The county legislators, in theory, would have, from the way that it's been explained, at least that's how I understood it, the appointment authority to it, so.
Yeah, because it would be a board of directors appointed, and that would be, the county legislators would appoint the board of directors.
I wasn't clear when it said, we're gonna appoint one from this region, and maybe one time it'd be Black Book, one time it'd be Osable, one for the town of Plattsburgh, one for different regions, one for the city if they join. I wasn't clear, does that mean one of the board members, or any citizen that they want to appoint?
So the idea that the general proposal would be is that if the city participates, which they could opt not to, we could opt not to, but if we were to participate, that a representative of our municipality would be on this, but the idea would not be an elected official though.
But one that we appoint or they appoint?
From the sounds of it, is the county legislators would ultimately have the appointing authority.
See, if it's
for
gonna
that.
be a representative from a region, for some of the towns, it'd be 2 or 3 towns or 4 towns in a row, and together, and one for us, it seems like they ought to have the appointing authority.
There needs to be some clarity, so, but that's why I'm curious, you may wanna
And
give some thoughts and opinions if you
Design-
want.
Well, I need more information, obviously.
No, I know that, but we would be
Mark
curious.
To what,
Who?
Mark Dane,
Yeah,
all legislature?
this is like,
Yeah, Mark had a lot of questions last night.
yeah,
A
so
lot of
I'll
good
call Mark
questions.
and talk to him about it.
and Chris also seemed to have a lot of questions too, Chris Rosenquist. He might be another source,
Chris Rosenquist.
because he was chairing the meeting at the time.
Yeah, he's the,
He's
currently
finance.
he's the, well,
Finance.
finance chair. We anticipate there'll be finance chair again, so.
So, for the sake of our viewers, and that's my understanding, because I couldn't make the meeting, I apologize, colleagues. This is with abandonment,
Yeah.
Property abandonment.
Well, there.
That's
and
part of it, right?
Well, part of it.
That's,
Right.
there's many
Okay,
potential moving parts. Albany County, it's all in county.
Albany
Yeah.
County,
Yes.
yeah.
Has,
Full
I
county.
think, over 800 pieces of land that are currently in their bank.
mhm,
And some things they've done demos on, some things they've done other infrastructure support to get that piece of property to be a little bit more enticing to sell.
mhm.
They don't have to sell it to the highest bidder either. It could be to the person that they believe is going to do the most, the best good, or,
You like their brother-in-law?
Well,
Oh,
but,
did I say that?
but there's, this is why I want to vet this.
Mhm.
One of the, I wouldn't call it a concern, one of the considerations that's being proposed is if you don't become a quote-unquote charter member of this group,
Mhm.
if in year 3, we decided that we would wanna get involved, we would then have to pay 3 years' worth of our share to then be involved in the group. So, what I have proposed, Joe LaTemplio asked me, and I give kudos to our county treasurer for looking at this. I mean, we're not the first, it's not the first one to be created, there seems to be some success, but, I would like to see a work group of the towns, the villages, the city, and county legislators before we make a determination on this.
It sounded like they wanted to, we gotta have this tomorrow. If we're gonna get in
Sure,
this year.
but I would rather do it right than
I agree.
to speed up on it.
Well, and what I understand and the way that I look at it, there's a couple of major benefits. The first being there are grant monies available from the state that if they charter the land bank, et cetera, that there is the potential for some grant money. So that's gonna be some money that currently isn't in the mix.
Potentially.
Potentially. It's just like any other grant, but as it stands at the moment, the county wouldn't be in place or in a place where they could go after those particular grants at this time, correct?
Right, and the other part to it though is, it would be a nonprofit organization.
Correct.
And, for them to get up and running, there's gonna be administrative costs to it, or what is the county gonna do?
Job creation.
Or what is the county gonna do for, in-kind support? Are they gonna have their attorney provide counsel, are they gonna provide
There's a lot of pieces, but the other benefit that I saw, and believe me, I'm on the fence, I'm not dropping one way or the other with this at all. But the other benefit that I saw, when you talk about the bidding process, where you maybe had one of these out-of-town bidders that bid on a property that was up on the tax sale, up in the auction, and maybe bid $500. Well, maybe that's one of those pieces that's been at the auction umpteen times, and it has to go through that 3-4 year process, so it ends up being in that state longer and longer period of time. the land bank would possibly be able to step in and block something like that.
Mhm.
And they would be able to bid $501 and bring it into the land bank versus turning it back over to one of these individuals or groups that's continually coming in and buying these properties at auction, not doing anything with them, allowing the taxes to go arrears, and it has to go back through that 3 or 4 year
I think that
process
the
again.
representative from Albany that runs the Albany,
Mhm.
he's assistant, he said assistant director of Albany Land Bank? I'm not positive, but he's either director or assistant director, I think, of
Right.
Albany Land Bank. He was saying that this could enable towns, villages, these different communities to be able to put back on a usable scale, because speculators come in, buy the stuff up and just hold it, sit there,
Yeah.
take their tax deduction, and they don't live around here, and they don't need to develop it right away, so it just sits. And we have some land like that in our industrial areas right now that's like that, in the commercial areas. So it did seem like he was saying that one of the benefits was, that they've seen anyway, is that they have less of the outside and more of a community ownership.
Yeah,
of
he
it.
talked a lot about that from
And the
within
fact-
that particular
Yeah,
zip
and the
code.
fact that even some of the properties, they would develop and set a limit on the assessment, such that a lower income person could end up being able to stay there instead of, okay, the rent's gone up or whatever's gone up and you can't do it. So those were some other things, but if I recall, one of their suggestions was that we just see how many properties we would have. But that's just one category, though, that I'm speaking about here. There's other categories that, a fire happens, and
Sure.
building has to be demolished, we have to do it. Now, this county used to reimburse us for the money, now they're not
Mhm.
doing that. So
Yeah.
that property's either gonna sit there
Yeah.
like it is, or we end up paying the bill to, at least that's my understanding.
So, more to come
Yeah.
from this, I just,
Yeah.
Slides will be available?
I'm gonna try to get them.
Okay, I
Yeah,
appreciate
I
that,
think,
Mike, 'cause
I
I'd like
think
to see
we're in a
those.
really good position.
Barb, I'd like to see them.
Yeah, we can see
Can you
them,
put it on
but
the-
I think we're
No.
really in
You
a
can't-
good.
It's real.
Well, it was a PowerPoint slide,
About
and
this
we
big.
we sat on the rim of where the
But
county.
you can't put the PowerPoint online?
Oh, no, we can put,
That's what I meant.
yeah, we'll
Yeah.
put
You're
it
taking
online.
slides, I'm not imagining
No, no,
you're
no.
gonna go back to the
Well,
100-year-old
the other
slide
thing
machine.
that I know.
Yeah, we can put it online, but what I'm saying is I need to get a copy of it
Yeah.
Oh, of course,
from them
of course.
first, and we haven't
But then you
received
can
it.
put it on the website.
Yes.
The other thing that seemed to me that the chair, the finance chair was making a point of was, yes, well, he wanted the county legislators to be able to ask questions first, because really, they were hearing this almost for the first time too. They had a little bit of discussion about it before with the treasurer, but in fact, they didn't have all this information ahead of time. So, it's like, I consider just a beginning,
Well, I agree,
let's
and I
see
think,
where we're at.
I think the advantage that we have over a lot of our counterparts is we have in-house people that are gonna be able to help guide us with this. With planning, community development, with Patrick out of finance, with Michael in the supervisors group, I think we're gonna have a lot of good input on this going forward, and we're gonna have the right stuff on the table to make the decision that's right for
Yeah,
the town of
and
Plattsburgh.
even if they wanna do it in a short period of time, it's a long way to go, because they've gotta come up
Yeah.
with the bylaws and everything, and then, we wanna make suggestions and stuff for that. But I think it's something that's worth looking into.
Need a lot more info.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But part of it though, it's kinda like, crowdsourcing, and that's why I'm
Yeah, I
interested
was
in
just
your
gonna
group,
say.
Debbie.
Yeah, well, yeah.
You might think of
Yeah.
a question
Yeah.
that we don't think of,
Yeah.
and I would rather throw that at,
Yeah.
our county treasurer
Yep.
and,
Yeah,
well, you have a good relationship with Mark Dane, but the more people that are asking good questions about this,
yeah,
because there was a map of New York State, and it was like, from like down in Long Island, New York City, and it just followed the border this way,
That's normal.
right, but the.
Where are the cities?
But the,
Yellow.
but the models though, as we know, you try to take that and put it in our
In our
region a lot of times,
Doesn't work.
and it doesn't work as it is. So I don't wanna be an experiment in whole with something if we haven't had an opportunity to vet it out.
But I was surprised though that a lot of those were across the southern tier though, and those are smaller counties like Chautauqua and Broome, those are, you know, they're not densely populated counties
Mhm.
really. So that's the one thing that surprised me. I'd like to see, I may throw sometime as the emergency services director in Chautauqua, so.
Nope.
So,
I echo your comments in terms of Debbie, your taxpayer association. I'd like to hear the feedback too, so, okay?
yeah, more
But
of
there's a lot more.
Gotta
there's
get
a-
the information first.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
understood.
All
That's
the way.
the job, we'll go.
Goes without saying.
So do we, but we thought, you know, it'd be good to bring it up at least.
Yeah.
This has been
No,
discussed.
No, it's
I-
an interesting idea.
Okay,
that's, like I said,
Okay.
that's all I have. We do have, draft minutes,
okay.
monthly reports. You folks had talked about possibly wanting to bring this to the floor. If you do, I already have one numbered, so we can go back.
Well,
Okay.
we'd like,
No, I'd like
Art and I
to,
would like to
yeah.
bring the one to appoint
Okay.
Jim Woods.
yeah, that's what
as
he's
a
saying. We're gonna
MEO.
hold off and,
Just to pause that, if we're gonna
Put-
do
put-
that in consideration, let me go to the first one
Yep,
that I
sounds
do
good.
have numbered here though. Resolution 1920, the resignation of Chastity Walters as an account clerk typist.
Whereas Ms. Chastity Walters has submitted a letter of resignation from her position as account clerk typist effective January 21st, 2019. Therefore, be resolved that the town board, Town of Plattsburgh, with appreciation for prior years of service in this position, accept Ms. Walters' letter of resignation as account clerk typist. And it be further resolved that a copy of this resolution be given to the finance manager and one be put in her personnel file.
Is there a motion? So Chuck Postic, is there a second?
seconded.
For Hebert, any discussion? I would just add, I thank Chastity for her service to the town.
Yes,
Yes, yep, great.
11 years, 10, 12 years.
13.
13 actually,
I'm sorry, I got it wrong.
13 years.
from the back.
Alright, roll call.
Thomas Wood,
Yes,
Barb Hebert,
Yes,
Charles Costick,
Yes.
Mike Cash.
Yes, so does carry. Okay. Now let's
and speaking with the highway superintendent, this position would be an MEO2. It wouldn't be a higher position, even though he's been the head of the department, but other previous highway superintendents have ended up helping by coming in when needed to plow and possibly to do any kind of paving that's needed if they didn't have enough people. They wouldn't be getting overtime because they would just be coming in, whether it's a weekend or not. A weekend, we would just be getting straight time. And as per we've done in the past with Fred and others, it would be helpful to have somebody with experience, knows how to drive the trucks, and could help. And the reason to do it this week is we don't know if there's gonna be a storm. You never know when there's gonna be a storm, and it would be helpful to Tim if we had this, had him on the books. Doesn't mean he's gonna be called in, but just, he's willing to do it, so. And the civil service papers and filed, applications, everything's been done.
yeah, it's an established on-call list, so I made sure to talk to Tim about that, so. And that the MEO2 title matches where the skill and expertise and what's needed for the town versus anything higher. So I was able to talk to Tim about that. And yes, the paperwork is civil services, we know, put our ducks in a row, and things that are required, or prerequisites have been satisfied.
Okay, so you're both requesting that this receive a number and.
Yes,
brought to the
and
floor.
to pass it tonight, based on.
I don't think it's that controversial. I think it's pretty straightforward.
Any questions?
1921, on-call MEO2, temporary positions in the highway department.
Whereas the supervisors received a letter dated January 2019 from Highway Superintendent Tim Dubray, requesting that due to low staffing, the town board fill an on-call temporary MEO2 position in the highway department. And whereas James Wood, a former employee who has the skills and trained to perform the necessary duties, have agreed to work on a temporary basis to support the department's needs throughout the year. Now therefore be resolved, the supervisor be authorized to create 4 on-call temporary civil service positions for the highway department and sign all necessary documents to fill said positions, and a certified copy of the resolution be given to the highway superintendent, finance manager, pool insuring, and civil service of Clinton County Personnel Department for their final approval.
Is there a motion?
So moved.
Wood, is there a second?
Seconded.
Hebert. Discussion.
Just so I understand, we're creating 4 positions then, so that would be 3 other slots?
There would,
That is correct?
yes, 3
Okay.
other slots would be,
And that,
but they would, each individual would have to be approved.
okay.
Yeah.
I haven't,
So that
I
would-
haven't quite cycled the full year yet, I think I'm a week short, so this is pretty normal then to do the on-call
Yeah, that's why I mentioned
for,
it's
for
an,
the other positions?
it's an
Okay.
established on-call.
Okay.
Yep, I wanna make sure that was introduced.
No, and that's fine,
Yeah.
it makes sense.
Yep.
The situation is, I've spoken to Jim Woods personally, and he has no desire to come back full-time. So, he's only gonna come in.
I believe that.
He's gonna come in when he's needed, and he doesn't wanna do anything but plowing and maybe paving.
Yeah.
That's
Oh,
what
I-
I've heard.
And I agree, you're not gonna find anybody with a better skill set, so, when it comes to that, I agree wholeheartedly. And then typically, the other positions, where would it,
MEO.
Same,
Yeah, yeah.
that would be the same.
okay, so how do we typically fill them though? I mean, is that
Well,
just
like
people that, I mean?
Fred Levine came back as
Okay.
a substitute, same thing.
Okay.
You know, it's trying to be consistent.
Yep.
Yep.
And
Well, yeah, I'm
the
not worried
supervisor
about
of the superintendent of the department is not trying to put anybody at higher grades than what's needed to actually do the position.
Okay.
Yeah, because MEO two is the moderate
That's the
equipment,
one.
so that's the one that, and that's why we question to make sure that it's not a higher level,
Yeah.
because the higher level is a heavy equipment. This is not what we need.
So it's other equipment that he wouldn't be able to
Yeah.
use, but he doesn't want to anyway. This is all he wants to do.
Perfect.
Roll
Okay,
call.
let's go.
Thomas Wood,
Yes.
Barb Hebert,
Yes.
Charles Costick,
Yes.
Mike Castro.
Yes, sorry, I'm just trying to do this as well. Resolution carries. Additional draft material for this evening is the purchase of the water reading meters. We will take up for consideration the moratorium on certain specific uses incompatible with the mixed use that relates to our smart growth. Annual examination of the town's fiscal records by audit committee, appointment of Town of Plattsburgh delegate for the 2019 Association of Towns meeting, and request to travel to the Association of Towns. So that's the gamut.
So,
Alright.
okay, so you're appointing somebody on here for, to be representative of the Association of Towns?
As typically is the case, that the supervisor goes, usually is the delegate.
Yep.
And since my,
But there's always a.
since my deputy's going, she'll be the alternate.
Okay, that's what I was considering, you know,
And typically how it's been is Ricky has, because when Ricky goes, he serves as the alternate, in the year that the supervisor can't go. If I can't go, sometimes Ricky serves as the delegate, so.
Yeah.
and
So
I served
you're
as
not
a delegate,
flipping a quarter while you're-
as a council person, I served as a delegate 1 year, and I was a substitute.
And there's still an association
And
of towns.
Yes, and actually, yes, I made a number of comments at the Association of Towns, exactly.
No.
Oh, yes, I did, yes.
All right,
Oh,
we are gonna wrap it up tonight at
Okay.
6:21. No need, in my opinion, for an executive session unless, I don't know, something.
Unless one of us has something.
All right,
Nope.
Right.
thank you folks, drive safe.
Yep, thank you. Cool.
Have you heard anything about Terry Beaver? Nobody's heard of him. And that's okay.